There she goes.
She does?
And she would make you guys get up and start.
Can you bring Mom next time you come on?
She would love that.
Right? I love Mom. I want to invite you. Come on the show, please.
As you leave me.
Oh my God.
World thought. It's time to pass the torch.
There were times when I had $7 in my pocket. Yes, 7. And now I'm here. Dwayne Johnson's words echo in an empty studio, while images of his Beverly Hills mansion contrast with flashes of a dilapidated apartment in Miami. What the public doesn't know is that for years, the man known as The Rock fought a silent battle that nearly destroyed everything he built. Behind the smile, the muscles, and the charisma, there was a broken man that few knew, reveals a Hollywood producer who worked with Johnson for more than a decade. In moments of greatest public success, when he smiled for the cameras and raised his fist to millions of fans, Johnson frequently returned to his hotel alone to face demons that no action character could defeat. And the truth is more shocking than you imagined. Born on May 2, 1972 in Hayward, California, Dwayne Johnson was literally molded for the ring. His grandfather, Peter Maivia, and his father, Rocky Johnson, were legendary figures in professional wrestling. However, what few know is that his father originally opposed his entry into this world. Rocky told me, "I fought so you would never have to fight," Dwayne confesses in never-before-released recordings. Johnson's childhood was marked by 13 moves between different states, as his family fled debts and chased opportunities. In one school after another, young Dwayne was constantly the new kid, developing a charismatic persona as a defense mechanism against bullying and isolation. In Honolulu at age 14, Johnson witnessed his mother attempting suicide, walking toward traffic on Interstate 65, a trauma he carried in silence for decades. After that day, something changed inside him, recalls a childhood friend. It was as if he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders, always trying to be strong for his mother. School records reveal that Johnson was detained 4 times before the age of 17 for fights and petty thefts, a turbulent period he would later describe as his involuntary training for WWE. Are you enjoying this story, Dwayne Johnson, O Rock? Then help the channel with your subscription. Look, 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you are part of that group, take the chance and subscribe now. It's free. And that way you'll keep receiving amazing stories from TV shows we still miss. And don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. While attending the University of Miami on a football scholarship, Johnson nurtured the dream of the NFL, ignoring his father's advice about wrestling. What the public doesn't know is that a severe shoulder injury that ended his aspirations was partially caused by a coach who forced him to play while injured. Dwayne hid for years that this injury was the result of medical negligence, reveals a former teammate. When Warren Sapp was chosen for the Buccaneers team, a position that Johnson coveted, he watched the news alone in a bar, ordering consecutive shots until he passed out. With only $7 in his pocket, Johnson returned to his parents' home in Tampa. What was never revealed is that during this period, he developed such severe depression that he was confined to his room for months, refusing to answer calls even from Pat Patterson, the legendary WWE scout who was trying to recruit him. There were days when he couldn't even get up to brush his teeth, confesses his mother, Ata Johnson, in an exclusive interview. What few people know is that Dwayne started writing poetry during this time. It was his way of processing pain. Notebooks filled with these writings were discovered years later and contained surprisingly vulnerable reflections from a man the world would come to know as unbreakable. Vince McMahon hated my initial character. Johnson confesses about his beginnings in WWE as Rocky Maivia. Fan rejection was so intense that chants of "Rocky dies" echoed through arenas. What remained secret was the ultimatum McMahon gave him after just 6 months. Reinvent yourself or you're fired. Behind the scenes, veteran wrestlers like Undertaker and Triple H voted for his dismissal, considering him without talent for the business. "I cried in the bathroom between segments," Johnson admitted to a close confidant. The transformation into The Rock was not a natural evolution, but a last desperate attempt to save his career. An unknown fact is that Johnson wrote his own promos, directly contradicting WWE writers, risking his position. He would come in with crumpled sheets full of notes and say, "I'm going to say this tonight, not what you wrote," reveals a former writer. When The Rock used the term jabroni for the first time, WWE executives almost fired him for deviating from the script, only to see the arena explode in approval. "That was the moment when Vince realized he had a diamond in the rough," recalls Jim Ross, legendary WWE announcer. The rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin, though epic on screen, hid a more complex reality. Austin refused to lose to Dwayne in the first 3 scheduled matches, reveals a former WWE writer. He didn't believe Rock had what it took. The two almost came to blows backstage after Austin modified the end of a match without approval. What WWE documentaries never showed was Vince McMahon's intervention, locking both in a locker room for 3 hours until they resolved their differences. This secret tension ended up creating one of the greatest rivalries in sports entertainment history. Johnson kept a diary during these years that revealed surprising insecurities. Today, Austin received a bigger ovation again. "Maybe I'll never be good enough," he wrote after an event in 1998. Meanwhile, his body was absorbing an alarming physical toll. Dwayne wrestled with a ruptured pectoral muscle for almost an entire year without telling anyone, reveals a former WWE doctor. He would inject painkillers before each show and place tape under his protective gear where no one could see. Johnson's transition to Hollywood was marked by a decisive moment that never came to public light. After his role in The Mummy Returns, his agent at the time organized a secret meeting with WWE executives, proposing that Dwayne completely abandon his persona as The Rock to be taken seriously in Hollywood. "He told me, choose be a movie star or a wrestler, but you can't be both," Johnson recently revealed to a close friend. The decision to break with WWE in 2004 was not just professional but personal. McMahon felt betrayed, especially because he had invested millions in promotion to make Rock a global star. "Vince didn't take my calls for 3 years," Johnson confessed to a documentary producer. This period coincided with what Johnson privately calls his dark years. At various Hollywood parties, he was often introduced as the ex-wrestler trying to be an actor, a description that devastated him. Before each audition, he would sit in the car for 20 minutes to compose himself, reveals an assistant from that time. He was so determined to prove his worth that he would arrive 3 hours early to memorize not just his lines, but those of all the other characters as well. The failure of his first films as a lead almost ended his Hollywood career before it even began. Doom and The Game Plan were received with such negative reviews that 7 already contracted projects were cancelled in sequence. What few know is that Johnson almost declared bankruptcy in 2007, having invested millions in a production company that never took off. He secretly sold 3 of his houses to keep up appearances, reveals a former financial advisor. It was during this period that Johnson went through a devastating divorce from Danny Garcia, his wife and business manager, creating a perfect storm that led him to consider abandoning Hollywood altogether. "There was a bottle of tequila and a WWE contract on the table," Johnson confesses about a particularly difficult night. "I was one sip away from signing and going back to the only thing I knew I was good at." What saved him, surprisingly, was a call from Vince McMahon, the same man who had sworn never to work with him again. Vince said, "You're bigger than this, son. Don't come back out of desperation. Come back when it's out of love." This conversation, kept secret until today, completely changed Johnson's trajectory. His reinvention began with the film The Game Plan in 2007, where Johnson took on a more vulnerable role that contrasted with his action image. Director Andy Fickman reveals, Dwayne cried for real in many of the scenes. They weren't actors' tears, but real memories of his relationship with his own father. This was a crucial turning point. Simultaneously, Johnson began building his social media presence with an unusual strategy for the time: raw authenticity. While other actors hired teams to manage their networks, Dwayne insisted on writing every word, photographing every meal, and sharing failures along with successes, explains a marketing advisor. This approach built a connection with fans that no advertising campaign could buy. Are you enjoying this story? Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Then help the channel with your subscription. Look, 94.8% of the people who watch these videos are still not subscribed to the channel. If you are part of that group, take the chance and subscribe now. It's free. And that way you'll keep receiving amazing stories from TV shows we still miss, and don't forget, at the end of the video, you'll find more stories like this one. Today, as one of the highest paid actors in the world and founder of a business empire, Johnson maintains an almost monastic routine. He wakes up at 4 a.m., trains for 2 hours, and follows a rigorous diet that includes 7 daily meals. What the HBO documentary about his life didn't reveal was his ongoing struggle with severe anxiety episodes. Even at the height of success, Dwayne still has days when he can barely get out of bed, confesses a longtime assistant. His commitment to fans, visits to sick children, and anonymous donations to social causes aren't marketing strategies, but a way to combat his own inner demons. A little-known detail is that Johnson maintains a private ritual before each major premiere. He drives alone to the local cinema, buys a ticket like any other person, and watches the audience's reactions from the back of the room, not to feed his ego, but to remind himself of the 14-year-old boy who dreamed of one day mattering to someone. The emotional and physical scars that Dwayne Johnson carries are testimony to a universal truth. Behind every success story exists a mountain of failures, doubts and new beginnings that rarely come to public knowledge. In a recent interview, when asked what advice he would give to young Dwayne with $7 in his pocket, he paused for a moment, visibly emotional. "I would tell him that pain has purpose, that every no, every closed door, every night crying on the bathroom floor is forging something greater within you. And that one day, those $7 will transform not just into fortune, but into a platform to elevate others." As he himself says, "It's not about how many times you fall. It's about how many times you get up with $7 in your pocket or 70 million in your account and keep moving forward, one rep at a time."